Math is the Earth, and then we like after 5 minutes of questioning, he's saying the exact opposite of that, right?
That's desperate.
Yeah.
Hey, could I ask a question if that's cool?
Oh, this will be good. Go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, I don't. It's kind of negative tone off the bat. It's just more a curiosity.
No, go for it. Isn't a negative tone, then?
So my only question is like, at what like, let me try to formulate it. My bad. Kind of, basically like, if the flat like the Earth is like flat, right? Like, at that point, like, what is it like? What does it prove after? Like, if you guys are right, like, what does it really change?
Well, go tell your family right now that the Earth is flat. See what it changes.
It changes the fact that we've been lied to our entire lives that the Earth is a globe.
So that's the end goal, is basically.
No, that's the goal is
we've been indoctrinated by the system.
The goal. Okay, you're not a flat earther, so just stop it, dude. Stop your LARP. Okay, so the goal is to. Most people don't know how to even determine what the truth of anything even is. They don't have the tools how to critically think even to figure it out. So a lot of people, you ask them to Earth, they'll go, they say, "Oh, the scientist said so," or most people believe it, or my mom told me, right? Or I seen pictures on TV. So these are the reasons. That's not critically thinking. To even come to the realization that Earth is flat, you first have to cross the bridge to critical thinking. Okay? If there's any end goal, it's, at least for me, it's that.
Okay, so basically, like, the end goal is just kind of for people to think for themselves and not really trust what they're told. Is basically what it is.
Yeah, we're a cult. We brainwash people to think for themselves.
Okay, I mean that's all I had really. I was always just curious what the end goal point was.
There's other factors. Like if you ask 100 flat earthers that question, you're going to probably get 100 different answers. Some will say religion. Some will say, now like the other guy just said, even though he's not a flat earther, or they prove that they're all lying. Some will be like to shit on academia. But for me personally, that's not the reason. I think modern societies, most people's brains are contaminated. And part of the globe is part of that contamination. When I say contaminated is everybody in this chat and everybody you've ever met and everybody they've ever met experiences Earth is flat and motionless. But they'll dismiss that experience for the claims of strangers that their experience is not the actual situation. So the Earth appears flat and motionless, but they're willing to reject what they see and perceive with the senses for ideas given to them by strangers. And I think that just fundamentally is dangerous, dude. Just dangerous. Think, oh, that's your mom. No, I have these equations on the chalkboard. That ain't your mom. That's not my mom. Well, I got to believe the equations. This guy's a fucking scientist. That must not be my mother anymore.
That's a good answer, Indio.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, do you understand? Because they've convinced people that their experiences, I've heard 1,000 times.
Get the
you can't trust your senses. How many times have you heard that? You can't trust your senses.
I don't think I've ever heard it, but I've heard it.
You think you can trust your senses?
I would like to think so.
Yeah, like it literally keeps us alive. And the idea that somehow like having thoughts in your head and entertaining concepts is more reliable than your senses is just so absurd it beggars belief. You can't even cross the fucking street without your senses.
Is flat Earth is that a religious thing or is that against religion? I know you brought
not it up, generally, but for some people it becomes. What happens with a lot of people is people will look into it and they come to the realization that the Earth is flat. And because the other cosmology can't support that cosmology or cosmogony, it can't support no creator. So they come to religion or God or theism because of the realization that the Earth is flat. They don't start that way, like, oh, I'm a freaking Christian. The Bible says the Earth is flat. I mean, of course, there's some people that are like that, but generally, it's because. Hey, I realize the Earth is flat. I can't have an atheist materialist worldview in light of that. So, what's the real situation?
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you for answering.
Well, yeah, Big Bangs don't create flat Earths, man.
you guys take it easy. That's all I had a question for.
Oh, Thick. Yeah, I was just going to ask you if you've ever heard of internal locus of control versus external locus of control. Have you heard of that before?
Never heard of it in my life.
Oh, too bad. Because some people will know, like, I mean, there have been a lot of studies and so on that show that people who have an internal locus of control, are generally more successful in life and so on. But that's only in terms of like people who do, who have like goal setting behavior, who understand the importance of like deciding to do something, and then setting their mind to it and their will, and then setting small goals to reach larger goals and so on, as opposed to external locus of control where you're relying on like cues from the outside world to tell you what to do, or you just kind of are like tossed along in the wind, or just think like you're just at the mercy of whatever happens, So like that is why, that would be my answer to your original question of why it's important, because like Indio was saying, it's like the ultimate internal locus of control when you can actually realize, like he was saying, your senses, how you experience the world is the way reality really is. So the interesting thing about flat Earth is that, you can actually objectively confirm that when you experience the Earth as flat and stationary, you look out in the ocean or large body of water or a desert and so on, and you just see horizon as far as the eye can see. It's totally flat, no curvature anywhere. You don't feel any rotation. Your reality, when you realize you can even go out and objectively test with long distance observations, laser tests, and so on to confirm, yeah, your experience is reality. And these people telling you this other stuff about this fantasy spaceball, that's just nonsense, And then that allows you to even more, tap into your potential as a human to try to find your purpose on this earth and have an internal locus of control motivating yourself, which is a healthier mindset all around.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense.
Because a lot of times people are like just too focused on, what the government's telling them to do, or what the scary thing of the day is, or what other people are going to say about them if they, go outside the party line and commit a thought crime and so on. But, once you're able to kind of tap into the fact that most of what is being portrayed out there in the so-called mainstream media, there's this huge essential thing, meaning the globe, that's a total lie. Once you can wrap your head around that just by simple mathematical equations that can be easily shown in the real world, that the geometry of the sphere doesn't exist, then you can kind of discard a whole bunch of nonsense, just kind of start living your life the way it presents itself to you.
Yeah.
Have you heard much about it before, Thick?
No, I can't say I have. I've never really had any exposure to either argument because it's never really been a concern of mine. I was just kind of curious what the
Can you
be all was of it.
okay? Can I ask you a question? Based upon what you've seen, how this topic is portrayed, what do you think we think? Do you think that we think the Earth is like a disk in space, like the third disk from the sun, and the sun is orbiting a flat Earth, etc.? Do you think that's what we think? Like we have the heliocentric model, right? The solar system, we just stuck a disk in there.
I guess I just never understood. Like, do you guys think all planets are flat?
Okay, so you do think we just stuck a disk in there? Yes.
I guess so. Yeah.
Because that's how it's portrayed in the media and like on TV or whatever, and on the internet. It's portrayed that they show this disc with the water falling off, right? And frickin' it's no flat earther thinks that, and I mean none, zero, zip, no, zilch, nada, none. But why is it portrayed that way? Very strange.
I mean, usually
it's a straw man, basically. It's a straw man when they show that diagram of a flat Earth. they are completely strawmanning our position. It's
Yeah.
bullshit. It's a completely different cosmology than there's no solar system, there's no outer space, there's no out there, there's no stars fucking trillions of miles away. There's none of that shit. All that shit is wrong. Your conclusions are wrong, is what we're saying. Because if you dig into it, if you dig into the particulars and the details of the heliocentric model and the basis for saying, hey, why is the sun 93 million miles away? How'd they figure that out? How'd they figure out a star was, 4 light years away? How'd they figure out the universe expanding? How'd they figure out the ancient? When you actually look into the details on how they claim they know this, it's shit. It's garbage. It's utter garbage, dude. There's a lot of assumptions. There's a lot of storytelling, and the main problem is assumptions. I'll give you a quick example, right? There's this thing called the cosmic distance ladder, right?
Mm.
Okay, so how far away is that star? Okay, to get to that distance, they have this thing called a ladder. You need the rungs below it, right? So you need the distance to a closer object to figure out using one technique to figure out that, and you leverage that technique to get a different technique. So they say, okay, how do I know how far those stars are away? Well, it has an amount of redshift, and this much redshift means it's 100 million light years, whatever. Well, how do you know that that's the right ruler for that? Oh, well, we have these things called Cepheid variables, and their brightness varies, and we know their distance. And we see these redshift at this much, and using that as a baseline, we can get the redshift, standard on this redshift correlates with this brightness of a Cepheid variable. Okay, well, where did you get the distance of the Cepheid variable? So this ladder goes backwards. Okay, you know what all those values are based on? That if they don't know this value, they don't know any of the other values. The radius of the Earth. Okay. If they don't have the radius of the Earth value right, all the other values are wrong. The distance of the sun, the size of the planets, how far away, the distance of those planets, everything is based upon the radius of the Earth. Now, do you think the radius of the Earth has ever been measured?
Probably not.
Yeah, it can't even be measured in principle if the Earth was a globe, right? Because you have to dig down to the core, take a tape measure up to the surface. You could never actually measure it.
It's probably estimates, right?
Yeah, it's based upon assumptions about the relationship of the sky, the thing that's even in question, to the Earth, right? This thing called the celestial sphere. The stars move a certain amount depending on how far you walk. So if this is true, the sky seems like it's a sphere, so the Earth must be a sphere. So that's the first jumping to a conclusion, right? And then and you asked it, what about the other planets, right? That starts with something called the Copernican principle, that the Earth has no unique position in the universe. The Earth is just like everything else. So if the Earth is just like everything else and you adopt that philosophical foundation, when you look up in the sky, you have to reach the conclusion that the Earth is just like the things in the sky, right? Because it's not unique. It's like everything else. Look up, see a planet, Earth's like the planet, right? Has to, like, I look up, I see all spheres, so the Earth has to be a sphere because it's like everything else. So, but all these things, right? They actually don't have an empirical foundation. They have philosophical foundations. They have assumptions and presuppositions. And then they build this huge fucking Rube Goldberg device and then make declarations like, if you fell into a fucking black hole, you'd be stretched into spaghetti. Like, dude, they don't fucking know that shit. You think they know that?
No, probably not.
Yeah, you see what, but it's gotten to the point where they started making up these stories 100 years ago, and now it's into fucking outlandishness. You know what I mean? It's like the telephone game on steroids. They'll say some ridiculous crap, right? Uranus smells like farts. Jupiter rains diamonds. The moon is inside the Earth's atmosphere. That's the new hotness. What did I see today? Oh, there's an ocean in space that's 1 trillion times larger than the Earth's oceans. Just fucking bullshit, dude.
I got a really retarded question. It's gonna sound like it's mocking, and it's not. Just generally, when flat Earth is considered, how do you not reach an edge, right? I guess
Because like I told you, that cosmology where the Earth is an object in this vast empty space is not what we believe. Well, I should say it's not what I believe. And most flat earthers don't think the Earth is in space. We don't think outer space vacuum exists as such. For a very good reason. It would violate the second law of thermodynamics. Meaning, you have high pressure goes to low pressure, so why doesn't the air fuck off into outer space, right? Why is the air stuck to the Earth if the Earth is inside of a vacuum? If I make a vacuum chamber and I stick some air in the vacuum chamber, it doesn't all sink to the bottom because of gravity. It disperses evenly throughout the vacuum chamber and reaches thermodynamic equilibrium, right? So, and like if you look at the molecular kinetic theory of gases, there's no gravity in any of that. Gas still does what it does. When we model gas and we come up with scientific theories about gas, gravity doesn't affect it. So how all of a sudden, because you want to think people want to think the Earth is a ball, gravity somehow making gas stick to the ball, right? Because they like the idea of outer space. People are enamored with this idea, right? We got space movies, we got astronauts on TV, blah blah blah. They think it's the future, the new age of exploration. It's a fucking meme, basically.
Yeah, that's why I'm so glad Indio, put his finger on that you think, we're kind of thinking about these cartoon versions of flat Earth because they're put out there as straw man models of flat Earth, meaning a straw man is something that's easily destroyed and set on fire and so on, but because it wasn't the original idea to start with. So that's why we don't come up with a replacement model. Like we're not going to present you with something that's going to explain everything, because that's one of the problems with the failed globe story, is that they try to come up with an explanation for all these things, and their explanations really don't hold water. They're not even very good explanations. They aren't even cohesive within this alleged model that's not even really a model, because it's not modeling anything. So, I mean, that's the great thing about getting off the fake globe, is that, now all of a sudden, what is out there? We don't really know, because we haven't been able to explore the outer reaches of the ocean, so we don't really know what's out there. We can't really explain everything. We don't have to, because pretending like everything's explained, already been discovered. There's these so-called smart astrophysicists that know everything, so you don't have to worry about it. Just pat you on the head and stay on your globe. That's like really limiting, that's like really, really bad for human inquiry and just intellectual development and so on. It's all been stunted. And that's part of what the globe model's done. That's why it's important to get rid of it, because it's not even real. It's just something, they came up with this sphere idea. The ancient Greeks came up with it, the cult of Pythagoras. It was a cultic, religious belief that then was pushed on the masses. And even though they developed the technology in the 50s where they could go up and they saw that it was a flat horizon, and you can see images, from above the Earth that show it, flat and stationary. You can see other ones with fisheye lens and CGI and so on that show some kind of curvature, but they, none of those images can be verified. I only mention that some of them are flat because they contradict each other, right? And so now they started pushing this globe even more after they realized they were wrong, instead of just admitting their mistake and letting civilization build on truth. Now they're trying to build this civilization on a lie, and it needs to stop. We don't like it.
Yeah, and the straw man that they put out there serves a very useful purpose, because it's obviously, if that's what we thought, it's obviously patently ridiculous, right? So if you have the idea that, if I travel in a straight line, I end up back in the same place, and then you see this meme of a space disc, you're like, That's fucking stupid. That's impossible on that. How could they ever think that? It's just so dumb, right? How would you travel on a freaking disc in a straight line and end up back at the same place? That's impossible. I agree, that's impossible. But nobody thinks that. Okay? The other one is they always show it with the sun and the moon, right? A giant sun and a giant moon above a disc. Like, how would that work? And they go, oh, the flat earthers are stupid if they believe that. Everybody knows this freaking, the sun, even in the basic case scenario, like the sun orbits the earth. How would it orbit the earth? How would the day and night cycle work on a flat disc? So they get this picture in their mind of what flat earthers think, and they automatically dismiss it because of this imagery, this representation that is false. It isn't what we really think. So they dismiss it just out of hand as stupid and doesn't even warrant any attention at all because it's stupid on its face. That particular straw man serves a very useful purpose. And you're probably thinking these guys are conspiracy theories. They think there's a whole thing against flat Earth. There is, okay. The head person for YouTube, they were testifying for disinformation during COVID. Want to know what they brought up? Flat Earth. They didn't bring up fucking aliens. They didn't bring up freaking anything. They brought up flat Earth and that they were going to suppress flat Earth, which they did do. Okay? If you go to the Flat Earth Society website and you go in their forums, the entire forum is just full of globe earthers pretending to be flat earthers. The whole thing is a LARP. It's a controlled opposition. And this has been known for a long time. We actually got a flat Earth debunker to admit his father is in the Flat Earth Society. It's like, this just sounds like seriously conspiracy craziness, dude. What I'm telling you is 100% factual and easily provable. You can really watch the video of the freaking Susan from YouTube testifying in front of Congress under oath that they're going to suppress flat Earth.
Yeah, I put that video there in the chat. I tagged you there, Thick.
Oh, okay. I'll make sure to check that out. That's actually pretty crazy.
And I'm not bitching about being censored. That's like par for the course of any topic that's unliked. But my point is that particular straw man, that space disc image, to me, that's put out there on purpose to just go, oh, flat Earth is just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
If you go on the Flat Earth Society, it'll say flat earthers think there are 2 suns and 2 moons. No flat earther thinks that. Like, we don't take any of that shit.
Yeah, because I guess thinking about it now, I've only ever really seen the pictures that you guys are saying you don't believe in as like saying that's what you guys believe in.
Yeah. Like, I've been doing this like 8 years. Yeah. Like, whenever there's a new flat Earth article, even like the so-called flat Earth debunkers that actually know what we think, they'll still post that to poison the well. It's crazy. Like Professor Dave or Sideman Dan or any of the other anti-flat earthers, they'll put the thumbnail as that when they know we don't think that. You know why they know? Because we told them, because we've debated these people, and they know we don't think that, but they'll still portray flat earthers as believing in something like that. They'll even say, even though they know we don't think it's a space disc, oh, you guys believe in a space pizza. They still say that shit. But anyway, I'm kind of bitching. This topic has like evolved over time, and so we've dealt with different types of rhetorical devices and shit like that, and it's changed. But the thing that has not changed is them portraying the flat Earth as if we believe the Earth is a space disc. We don't. We don't think there is outer space. Why would we think there's a space disc?
Tell him about the long distance observations or the laser test. He hasn't heard about that.
Yeah. And I never heard of that thing that, what did you call it, internal versus external what?
Locus of control.
Locus of control.
Yeah.
I actually never heard of that before. But that's very interesting, that dichotomy that's kind of created.
Yeah, it's like a corporate thing, they talk about in education a lot. Of course, better employees are going to be the internal locus of control ones, right? Rather than the
Do they try to weed y'all out beforehand?
Yeah.
They give you like that 200 question psychological exams before you even
Yeah, they probably. I mean, that's how I had to like actually at one of my jobs. I had to like apply for it, and like half the people didn't get hired because we were going from independent contractors to contractors. I mean, to employees, and yeah, that's what they do now. They give you like these weird psychological surveys. There, you don't have time to like even think about the answer. You just have to like you got like 3 seconds. Just get the answer. Get the answer. Yeah, they're very all kinds of odd questions. Yeah. Yeah, because external locus of control, they're the like whiny people. It's like, oh yeah, my life's so horrible because so and so did this to me, and
Goodness gracious.
the world's against me. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
it's always somebody else's fault.
yeah, yeah. It's the globe's fault. I mean, but the globe, encourages people to be, dependent on others for their worldview.
Yeah. And so, speaking of depending on others for their worldview, we're going to abandon that for a minute and go to how can we test if the Earth's a globe? So what
I'm
flat
actually
earthers
gonna
have
hop
done?
out of here. I just want to say thank you
Oh,
for
okay.
answering my questions. It's got a lot to think
Oh,
about.
just let
I
Indio
appreciate
give
you
you
guys being really nice.
you gotta hear
I
about the
really
long
gotta
distance
go. I'm so
observation.
sorry.
All right, I'll send it
Just
to you
come
in a
back, dude.
message. Yeah, or come back
Okay.
because you gotta hear that part. It's
All right.
like
But
the
thank
major
you guys
part.
for being so nice
And
about
you
it.
were
I
so
appreciate it.
great too. Yeah, we'll see you next time.
All right. Bye,
All
guys.
right, we're Ben. Fucking these people are so funny. It's so weird, right? Just like they never come in and say, "Hey, what's your evidence the Earth is flat?" And when they do, they don't fucking listen. It's fucking funny.
Because I realized that, like, we were talking to that guy for like a half hour just about like the meta of like, why is flat Earth this and why isn't it that? But yeah, it's fine. He'll be fine.
Yeah, he didn't seem like exceptionally curious to me. Like it seemed like he just came into like I don't know. These people that like they see us as like a curiosity, but the reason because that whole meme shit, right? So they think there's people that believe that that's the Earth, the space disk with water falling off. I need to know more about that. Like them, they want to analyze us.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why I went there. I usually never go there. Like, but I had a sensation or a feeling that he thought we think that. Like we don't think that.
Oh no, I'm glad you did. Yeah, because yeah, he could have ended up leaving and still thinking that probably. Yeah, that's good that you caught on to that. Yeah.
Should
About the globe.
I personally think I live on a globe. Yeah, I mean, I think I live on a spherical planet.
What makes you think that?
Well, should I start with the best reason that I think that?
I think
Or at
best
least
is good.
my
Yeah.
perception?
Yeah, because you never know how far we'll get, so you might as well start with the best. Yeah.
So the biggest reason that I believe that I live on a sphere or a spherical body is because every other object that I see in space is more or less spherical. It has 3 dimensions to it. So that's why I believe that the planet that I live on is also 3-dimensional in a sphere shape.
Well, I mean, can you see the logical holes in that argument? I mean, for one thing, I mean, you assuming the planets are spherical is, something you might have seen from an artistic rendition. You haven't actually observed them like with a telescope to be spherical. But nonetheless, even if they were, why would that make you think the land, the world, which has only recently been called a planet, those Earth was never considered to be one of the planets. The planets were the wandering stars, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, so on. Only recently has that been claimed, but it's actually not an accurate claim. It's not based on any real measurements and so on. But if you're just, you're a person, you're standing here in this world on the Earth, and you didn't hear any of those other things, no propaganda, no education, and you looked up and you saw some stars, and if you had your telescope, you'd see that some of them were different than other ones. What would make you think that you were the same as those things?
Well, I never had a telescope before having like basic astronomy and like just planetary knowledge. I remember seeing back in the 80s, they used to have these models that you would see that are like chain driven. You've seen them. You're flat earthers, you've seen them. Like a bike pedal, right? You turn the thing and they move around, and they calculated like the orbit, the patterns, and all you have to do is add or remove links to make that. And once you get it right, boom, you got this little model of the orbits, right? I had seen that well before I ever even thought about, how often we might be going around the sun or it around us or whatever that situation may be.
Yeah, but you actually, in reality, what you see is the sun moving across the sky. You definitely saw the sun moving across the sky before you saw your little bike chain model. But
The first day that I went to
Mhm.
school, everything I was taught made sense to me.
Mm.
I think
Oh,
that might be the difference.
That's really interesting, because what if I told you that, there's no curvature that's ever been measured, and when you go out and test the geometry of a sphere in reality, then you find that the 8 inches per mile squared drop over distance that's predicted by the globe model, or the horizon distance of 1.225 miles
Not
times the
predicted.
square root of the observer's height in
Measured.
feet, neither of those
Measured.
are ever actually measured or found in reality. Have you measured curvature, Raka?
I mean, did you watch the end
Of?
of the documentary by Mark Sargent?
I have no ideas. I have never, ever watched anything by
founder
Mark
of the
Sargent.
Flat Earth model?
No, you're way off. You're way off there. Nope. You have a extremely limited understanding of what we're talking about here. We don't have, we don't have a leader. We don't have a movement. We don't have an establishment. We're not the Borg. We don't follow Mark Sargent. He one time made a comment on a YouTube video I
I don't
made.
care about Mark
That's
Sargent.
the only interaction I've ever
I
had
don't
with
give a
him.
single fuck about
Yeah.
Mark Sargent.
Yeah, neither do I. So why'd you bring him up?
I asked if you watched the documentary.
No, I didn't.
The
So
end-
where did you, and I asked you, did you
Specifically,
measure
the end of the
curvature?
documentary, where they measure the curvature and they do the light experiment. If
You're
you
talking
watched
about
it-
Behind the Curve. It's not by
Yes.
Mark Sargent.
Well, I mean, yes, it is.
Okay,
No,
it
it's
doesn't matter.
by
If
Netflix.
He's
thank
so
you,
heavily
Matthew
featured.
Lawrence. Yeah.
It is by Mark Sargent because he has the most talking time on camera.
It's about him, not by him.
So your measurement of curvature is a Netflix mockumentary from 2017 or whatever. That's your measurement, Raka?
You can pigeonhole me any way you want to.
I'm not trying to. I'm
You
just
don't
trying to
know-
ask you
You don't know
your
what
measurement
I'm referencing.
of curvature.
No.
Now, if you're talking about the Netflix piece,
You
I know
told me.
about it. There's
You
other
told
people
me
here. Indio's
measure
watched
that
it before.
curvature.
I never actually watched it. So if you want to
You
talk about
told
that
me
show, you'd have to talk to somebody else. But
what experiment to do, didn't you?
no, I said when you actually go out there and look for the predicted drop over distance, it's not
Right.
there. Yeah, that's what I said.
Yes, you did. You explained the
Mhm.
experiment to me.
Yep. No,
They did
not.
find that.
Mm,
Now, if you could watch that entire documentary somehow, or don't even watch it, just skip to the end. I encourage you to look that thing up online. It's probably on YouTube. Go to the very end and just watch the last 3 minutes. And that's
Indio, do you
don't
want
watch
to talk
the
to this
rest.
guy about that thing? Because I never even watched that thing. So he doesn't want to hear about the reality of the measurements. I don't know if Indio's available, but I'm not interested in talking about the Netflix thing. I'm not interested in watching it. I'll probably never watch it.
You understand? Different altitudes.
I do. I understand.
Okay, so if it's at 30, say 100 miles, then it hits the terminator line. Does it just fucking go vertical as soon as it hits the fucking Terminator up to 4,000 miles?
I don't know what specific thing you're asking me.
Oh, God.
Because what? No, okay, no. You're talking about the ionosphere, which is a ball around a ball, right?
Uh-huh. And one ball, the daytime ball is smaller than the fucking nighttime ball. So when you go from the daytime ball to the nighttime ball, what happens?
The daytime to nighttime. The imagine it as the inner ball, which is the Earth, right, is closer to the nighttime side, which would be the ionosphere. And then on the daytime side, it would be further away. And the reason why is because of the charged particles from the sun.
Listening to you is getting just straight painful. You trying to fucking resuscitate something that's dead, dude. Hey, you
Dead?
don't. Yeah. You're not addressing the issue. Okay?
Which is?
The issue is, on the daytime side, the ionosphere is closer to the surface of the Earth. Right?
Yeah.
So let's say it's 300 miles above the surface of the Earth. That means you have a hemisphere that's 300 miles in radius, larger than 3,959 miles. Now let's skip over to the nighttime side. Now that's 1,000 miles above the surface of the Earth. Now the radius of that hemisphere
Did he stop talking?
Oh, my headphones died, bro.
All right.
Yeah, I think they're working now. Hold on, let me go. Oh, yeah, we're connected. Good. Okay, so on the nighttime side, the ionosphere is 1,000 miles above the surface of the Earth. The radius of that ionosphere, that hemisphere that's on the nighttime side, the half sphere, is 3,959 miles plus 1,000 miles. So you have ionosphere daytime, a ball of one size, ionosphere nighttime, a ball of greater size. Well, they have to connect at some point, right?
Yeah.
At the Terminator.
I already proposed.
So how do they connect to each other? Is it continuous?
I already proposed a possible explanation for this, and that is the Earth is not at the center, right? The Earth, because of the interference of the sun, is not at the center of the ionic sphere.
So you saying it's asymmetric?
Yeah, I'm saying that is one possible explanation for it. Yeah.
That's a great speculation.
It is.
Or the Earth is just flat. You don't need all this gobbledygook. We don't need to speculate. Hey, dude, it acts like it's flat. Oh, maybe because it is flat. Yeah. Oh no, but it's actually a fucking ball. But to keep it a ball, we have to make this convoluted bullshit.
Huh?
We have to use our imagination. Sorry, how many times did you say imagine, bro?
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. If your whole worldview depends on imagination, you don't have a worldview that conforms with reality.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm not religious, so.
What's that got to do with anything?
Well, you said that. Never mind. It's fine. My ideals comporting to reality. It was a cheap shot at people who are religious. It was not necessary.
Look, if you're running around saying imagine, you're the most religious person here.
Really?
So the globe is a religion that does not have a deity associated with it. That's all it is.
Like I misspoke earlier, right? And the room sort of jumped on me. You just said if you imagine a lot, that's a religion. That's insane.
Okay, no. If you have to imagine a lot. Okay, let's use an analogy. I imagine that when it rains, That's the fucking spirit of the fucking rain god.
Sure.
And that's what causes rain.
Sure.
Now, I can imagine that. Now, if I'm trying to, like, quote-unquote, explain natural phenomenon, but that explanation is based on the imagining how it works.
Okay.
Is that religious?
Yeah. But the thing that's
Okay,
religious
that's what you
would
did.
be basing... No, the thing that's religious is basing the belief on the imagination.
Yeah, that's what
Which
you're
is-
doing.
No, see, we're critiquing what you said, not what I'm doing. What you said was anyone who imagines a lot is religious, is what you said. So that was an insane thing to say, and you're trying to act like you didn't say it.
Okay, that's a straw man. You didn't quote me
No, it's what
verbatim
you
on what I said.
It's
not
what
verbatim what I said.
It's what you said.
You want to rewind the second stream and find out?
Sure.
And then when you're shown to be wrong, you'll get banned?
I
You
would
guys
love
do this
that.
shit all the time. You try to
love
straw man play a game, and you guys always lose this game. Always.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. If your
are you
whole
not
worldview
curious?
depends on imagination, you don't have a worldview that conforms with reality.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm not religious, so...
What's that got to do with anything?
Well, you said that... never mind. It's fine. My ideals comporting to reality, it was a cheap shot at people who are religious. It was not necessary.
Look, if you're running around saying imagine, you're the most religious person here.